In a quiet town, a courtroom that typically buzzed with procedural chatter was transformed into a sanctum of reverence as an 83-year-old veteran prepared to address the judge. The atmosphere shifted palpably, charged with anticipation as every pair of eyes in the room turned to focus on this elderly man, who stood poised at the front, ready to share a story that transcended time and touched on the essence of duty, sacrifice, and patriotism. At first glance, the veteran seemed like any other octogenarian, his white hair neatly combed and his frame slightly hunched with age. But as he stepped forward, it became clear that this man was far more than a reflection of his years. He was a living testament to a world shaped by struggle and triumph. His face was a tapestry of wrinkles, each line etched with the trials of life, marking the passage of time and underscoring the burdens he had borne. He was like a weathered book, full of wisdom and stories waiting to be unraveled, inviting everyone to listen closely. As Harold took his place at the podium, the audience's breaths synchronized in a collective hush, their attention fully captured. The twinkle in his eyes hinted at a reservoir of pride, but also a hint of sorrow, a lifelong burden he gracefully bore, the memories of comrades lost on distant shores. The judge, a stalwart figure with decades of experience, leaned forward in his chair, fully aware that this was no ordinary court appearance. This was a privilege, to witness a man who had once braved the chaos of war stand before them, now transformed by time into a guardian of stories long buried beneath layers of history. "Your Honor," Harold began, his voice steady but imbued with emotion, "I stand here not just to recount my experiences, but to honor the sacrifices made by countless others who fought alongside me." His words wove a narrative steeped in camaraderie, courage, and the raw reality of warfare. He painted vivid images of the battles he had faced, his voice rising and falling like the tides of memory, pulling everyone deeper into his experiences. He described the fierce heat of battle, the sounds of gunfire and the screams that echoed through the chaos. Yet amid this horror, he spoke of the bonds formed, the friendships that transcended the fear and uncertainty. "We were like family," he remarked, "brothers united by a common cause, willing to lay down our lives for one another." As he spoke, it became apparent that Harold was not merely reminiscing. He was imparting lessons derived from his life's adversities. The audience could feel a connection to the values he expressed: bravery, loyalty, and integrity. His gaze swept across the room, locking eyes with those who listened intently. His presence was magnetic, drawing everyone nearer, not only physically but emotionally, as they began to understand the weight of his story. With each passing moment, Harold's resolve remained unwavering. He emphasized that the true essence of a veteran's legacy lies in the recognition and appreciation of their sacrifices, an understanding that must resonate in today's world. "It is our duty to remember and honor those who have fought for our freedoms," he implored, his voice growing stronger. "We must carry forward the torch of unity and respect." As he stood, a symbol of resilience and honor, the courtroom that day transformed into a sanctuary of remembrance and a call to action. Everyone present, whether they had served in the armed forces or not, left with a renewed sense of purpose, a reminder that we all have a role to play in honoring the past while forging a brighter future together. The veteran's name was Harold, and as he began to share his story, the room fell silent, a pin-drop stillness that underscored the weight of his presence. The elderly man leaned slightly on the lectern, his hands trembling ever so slightly as he recalled moments from a tumultuous past. He spoke of his youth during a time when the world was engulfed in conflict. World War II was raging, and young men were being called to serve their countries. With every word, he transported listeners back to the battlefield, painting a vivid picture that encompassed not just the sights, but the sounds, smells, and emotions that came flooding back. "Imagine," Harold said, his voice steady yet laced with emotion, "the roar of planes overhead, the thud of artillery in the distance, and the smell, oh, the smell, of gunpowder mingling with the earth, bittersweet and heavy, representing freedom won at a terrible cost. The audience was riveted, caught in the tapestry of his narrative. They could almost hear the distant sounds of warfare, the echo of bombs, and the cries of men fighting for their lives, and they were drawn into the depths of his experiences. He described the friendships forged in the trenches, bonds deeper than blood, relationships that grew through shared adversity. These were brothers in arms who would go to great lengths for one another, sharing laughter to lighten the grim reality, comforting one another after heartbreak, and watching each other's backs when bullets flew. In moments of sheer terror, he explained, those friendships became lifelines. I'd help lift my buddy out of the line of fire, and he'd do the same for me. We fought not just for our country, but for each other. But amid countless stories of bravery and survival, there was one that stood out among the rest, a pivotal moment when courage was not simply tested but defined. One day, Harold recalled, his voice dropping to a near whisper as he stared into the distance, gathering the memories that lay heavy upon his heart. We were caught in a fierce firefight, a situation that felt entirely hopeless. The air was thick with smoke, and chaos reigned around us. As he painted this scene, Harold's eyes glistened with tears, the memories visceral, as fresh as the day they were etched into his mind. I remember looking down at my uniform, he continued, realizing that every stitch was woven with the sacrifices of those who came before me. I thought of my father, my uncles, men who had fought in previous wars, whose names were etched on family records and honored in my heart. It was as if they were there with me at that moment, telling me to stand tall, reminding me of the values they'd instilled in me. His words hung in the air like an unbroken silence, leaving the audience hanging on his every detail, sensing the gravity of his experiences. The courtroom felt less like a place of judgment and more like a sacred ground, where history and humanity coalesced. Harold recounted how, in that moment of desperation, they managed to regroup, strategizing against overwhelming odds. When we finally charged forward, it was as if time stood still, he recounted, animated by the memory. It was a reckless leap into the unknown, driven by the bond we shared and the hope of survival. The strength of his conviction resonated with everyone, bridging generations and reminding them of the sacrifices made for freedom. By the time he concluded that part of his story, the entire courtroom was transfixed, collectively holding its breath. Harold had transformed a memory into a legacy, a living reminder of courage that echoed far beyond the confines of the courtroom walls. Those who listened didn't just hear a story. They felt a call to honor those who served, ensuring that their sacrifices would never be forgotten. As he reached the climax of his story, Harold moved with deliberate care, slowly unbuttoning his shirt, each click of the buttons echoing softly in the hushed courtroom. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation as he revealed a metal pin to his chest, a glinting symbol of valor and sacrifice that caught the light and shimmered like a beacon. The audience collectively held its breath, as if the very air had become thick with emotion. This was not merely a piece of metal. It was a testament to a lifetime of courage, a physical representation of the battles fought both overseas and the personal struggles endured back home. Every eye in the room was fixated on the metal, an artifact rich with history and meaning. It spoke of valor, resilience, and a commitment to something greater than oneself. Harold's heart swelled with pride as he felt the cool weight of the metal against his skin, a stark reminder of the price of freedom. The judge's posture shifted instantly, a seasoned figure who understood the gravitas of the moment. With reverence and respect, he stood up and saluted, a gesture that embodied the spirit of gratitude that is deeply embedded within society but often goes unexpressed. The action was simple yet powerful, transforming the courtroom from a place of judgment into a sanctuary where honor and respect intermingled. The audience was spellbound, caught in the magnetic pull of the moment. This single act sent a wave of awe through the spectators, a powerful reminder of the respect that should always be afforded to those who have served. Some felt a lump rise in their throats, and others wiped away tears, a poignant reminder of the sacrifices made by countless individuals who answered the call of duty. As the silence enveloped the room, Harold took a deep breath and continued, his voice steady yet filled with deep emotion. "This medal is more than an accolade," he declared, his gaze sweeping across the audience, connecting with each individual present. "It represents the multitude of lives sacrificed for the cause of freedom." His words resonated deeply, composing an invisible thread that bound everyone together in that moment. "Whenever I wear this medal," he said, his voice cracking slightly, revealing the raw vulnerability beneath the bravado, "I carry with me the memories of those who didn't make it home." The weight of loss filled the room, creating a palpable tension that lingered long after his words were spoken. For Harold, each name etched in his memory was a reminder of the faces of fellow soldiers who had fought bravely, who had stood beside him in the face of danger, and who had ultimately paid the price for their shared dream of freedom. He paused, allowing the gravity of his statement to sink in, watching as heads nodded in solemn acknowledgement. "They deserve to be remembered," he continued, his voice rising with fervor, "not just in monuments and ceremonies, but in our hearts and actions every single day." The audience felt a collective shift, a deepened sense of responsibility to honor these heroes through their own lives. With each passing moment, Harold's message became clearer. It transcended the boundaries of war, forging a connection to the present-day struggles that many still face. His medal wasn't merely a symbol of past achievements. It served as a call to action for everyone gathered, to live with purpose, to appreciate freedom, and to extend kindness and support to one another as a community. Ultimately, the moment solidified a profound understanding. It was not just Harold's story, but a legacy of valor carried forward by each person in that room. As he buttoned his shirt back up, safeguarding the medal once more against his heart, he had transformed a simple courtroom appearance into a powerful reminder of sacrifice, community, and the enduring impact of honoring those who have served. The audience emerged from the experience inspired, with renewed dedication to live lives worthy of the sacrifices made for their freedoms. His words echoed through the courtroom, each syllable resonating not just with the veterans who understood the weight of his experiences, but with every individual present, regardless of age or background. Harold's voice had taken on a sense of urgency, woven with passion as he emphasized the importance of unity in today's world. He encouraged everyone to remember the significance of working together, not just in moments of crisis, but in the fabric of everyday life. "Freedom isn't given, it's earned," he declared, his voice crescendoing with fervor. There was a conviction underlying his words, filling the courtroom with an electricity that made every listener sit up straighter, their attention laser-focused on the man standing before them. "We must honor the sacrifices made by never taking our liberties for granted. Too often, we forget the struggles that paved the way for our rights, our privileges." His gaze swept over the audience, connecting powerfully with hearts and minds, urging them to recognize the collective responsibility they all bore. As he continued, Harold spoke of the bonds forged in times of adversity, not just among soldiers, but within communities that come together in support of a common cause. "Let us stand together," he urged, "as united as we were in those difficult days." The gravity of his message hung heavily in the air, prompting deep reflection amongst those who listened. The weight of history intertwined with the resolve to build a better future, and Harold's voice served as a reminder that solidarity is crucial in not just honoring the past, but also in shaping tomorrow. The judge, visibly moved by Harold's heartfelt delivery, leaned forward in his seat, his expression one of deep consideration. As the last words of Harold's passionate plea faded into silence, the judge rose to his feet, an act that commanded immediate attention. "Today," he began, his voice both respectful and commanding, "you've not only shared your personal story with us, but ignited a flame of patriotism within us all." The judge's acknowledgement underscored the profound impact Harold had made in that room, a transformation from mere spectators to active participants in a shared narrative of courage and hope. In that moment, applause erupted throughout the courtroom, a wave of sound that echoed off the walls, filling the space with a sense of collective celebration. It shifted the atmosphere from that of courtroom formality to one of unity and admiration. Balloons of emotion swelled in the hearts of those present, as diverse as they were united in their appreciation for Harold's words. Strangers exchanged glances of understanding, some wiping away tears, others smiling broadly, each one feeling the weight of the moment. Harold stood quietly, a humble figure amidst the wave of support, a warm smile breaking across his face as he absorbed the response. The applause was not just for him, but for every soldier who had fought and for every sacrifice made along the way. This was a moment that transcended generations, touching upon fundamental truths that bind individuals together regardless of their differences. As the applause eventually began to die down, a respectful quiet settled over the room, and an air of camaraderie filled the space. It was clear that Harold's words had resonated deeply, sparking conversations about community, sacrifice, and the responsibility that comes with freedom. It was a moment that reminded everyone in attendance of the power of stories, to inspire, to unite, and to foster an enduring appreciation for the values at the core of their shared humanity. With renewed conviction, each person in that courtroom left inspired, carrying Harold's message into their lives, ready to remember that freedom is a privilege worth fighting for, and that they, too, have a role in honoring the legacy of those brave souls who came before them. The spirit of unity Harold had fostered echoed long after the courtroom had emptied, igniting a lasting desire for collaboration and respect within the community. As Harold concluded his speech, a profound sense of hope radiated throughout the room, wrapping around the attendees like a comforting blanket. The words he had shared were not merely echoes of history. They blossomed into a rich tapestry of values that connected the older generation to the younger audience. The importance of bravery, honor, and community resonated deeply, serving as a poignant reminder of the sacrifices made by those who fought for freedom. The younger members of the audience, many of whom had never experienced war firsthand, found themselves moved by the tales of courage and friendship that transcended generations. The judge, deeply affected by the powerful sentiments expressed, rose to his feet once more. His voice, steady and reassuring, encouraged everyone present to carry Harold's message into their everyday lives. It is vital, he emphasized, that we remember and honor our veterans not just in words, but through our actions. Let us exemplify the unity and respect they fought for. His call echoed in the hearts of those gathered, instilling a sense of duty and a collective commitment to cherish and support the heroes who had paved the way for their freedoms. Outside the courtroom, life moved on, filled with the typical sounds of bustling cars and lively chatter. Yet inside, the atmosphere was charged with a palpable bond. The shared experience of witnessing Harold's story created an invisible thread connecting everyone in that room, intertwining their individual narratives with a greater purpose. There was a sense of realization that although times had changed, the values of compassion, solidarity, and respect were timeless and essential. As people began to filter out of the courtroom, they animatedly engaged in discussions, their conversations fueled by the inspiration Harold had ignited. What can we do to serve our community better? One person asked, prompting others to share ideas about volunteer opportunities, support for veterans, and ways to foster unity within their neighborhoods. Harold's bravery became a beacon of inspiration, encouraging them to take active roles in their communities, ensuring the sacrifices of veterans would not be forgotten in the daily grind of life. As Harold exited the courtroom, the applause followed him like a warm embrace, wrapping around him with lingering gratitude. Each clap was an acknowledgement not only of his words, but of the legacy he represented, the indomitable spirit of veterans everywhere who had faced insurmountable odds. The heartfelt ovation offered a palpable reminder of the significance of shared experiences and the transformative power of storytelling. Harold walked through the doors with a mixture of humility and pride, knowing that he had ignited something meaningful within the hearts of those who listened. Each step he took signified not just his personal journey, but also a collective movement toward honoring veterans through action and remembrance. His life story became a testament to the enduring legacy of service, urging everyone to integrate lessons of unity and respect into their daily lives. As he made his way outside, Harold felt the warmth of the sun on his face, and with it, a renewed sense of purpose. He understood that the impact of his story would stretch far beyond that courtroom, weaving itself into the fabric of community conversations and influencing actions in the days to come. The lingering echoes of his message promised a brighter future, where gratitude and service intertwine, ensuring that the sacrifices made for freedom would never fade away. The spirit of solidarity and appreciation would carry on, living vibrantly in the hearts of the next generation, inspired by the courage of those who came before.